This is what I call table for two, just me and my kid. I, I think I would say I got married fairly early in my life. Looking back now, I think it was a decision I made because I wanted to understand what I call the illusion of marriage. I was raised as a single mom by a single mom. And so I think I wanted to understand what this whole thing of marriage was. I had married people in my family. I saw some interesting models of marriage and some also very not so great models of it. And so I think I wanted to ensure that I had this experience and I met somebody who I believed was a good candidate. And then soon realized after about 7 years that we were not values aligned and learned a lot of things that they did that were less than desirable. I won't go into those because it's my story and what I learned and how the pivot worked for me. I have feel like since met a lot of women who have either gone through divorce or are in the process of considering divorce. And when they hear that I'm divorced, it ensues this conversation that allows me to not only speak my truth, but also just encourage them to get clear on what works for them. I will tell you that I am not here to tell everyone to get a divorce. You have to make the decision that works for you. But what I have noticed, especially now that I'm middle aged, and I find that more divorces happening around me at this age than 10 plus years ago when I was newly divorced myself, I have found that women are realizing that for years they probably knew that this person wasn't who they thought it was. They saw certain signs. Looking back, you can always see the signs. Hindsight is 2020. But for whatever reasons, I think a lot of it is conditioning that women get to keep marriages going or to feel like being married is being chosen. And so what I will say is for me, when I decided to get divorced, it was a conscious choice. I remember the exact moment that it was like, yeah, I cannot keep doing this anymore. It was during the holidays. And my partner at the time was not around. And it was odd because I had taken such time and care to create a tradition of a Christmas tree and certain things. And I came to realize that he didn't share in that at all. And I thought, if you don't want this, then I don't want this anymore with you. And I honestly could do this by myself because I've been raised by a single mom and I know what it is and what it looks like. And I can totally do that because my mom was awesome. Like lots of things she did that I look back now and think like some of that stuff I didn't have to deal with because she was very much like, I talked to her directly. We would have a conversation. I could plead my case. I was very much able to have some non non-adult, but if it had to do with me, I could speak my truth. And so getting a divorce is hard, but getting a divorce with a child, a 3-year-old, and having to keep it together, it's a different kind of hard. I knew that it would be a lot, but I also was like, I'm already dealing with a lot. So this is like the lot that I can control and I can do on my own. And so the decision was super clear. And so I think it was like February, I filed, like I went and got myself an attorney. And then by July, I was like living in my own apartment. So it felt like it went really quick. But when you make up your mind, if I'm honest, and you decide this is what it is and this is what I'm going to do, it actually moves really quickly, depending upon what state you're in, depending upon all this other stuff, we'll discern what happens for various people. But here in California, where I am, it wasn't too crazy. And so what I think realized is once I moved out and had my own space, I could define what family looks like. I could create what kind of rituals and traditions and routines that I wanted to have without having to factor in another person who may not have been showing up fully all the time. I realize I have way more strength than I realized, if I'm honest. I definitely knew it was going to be hard, but I figured I could make it harder if I stayed. So I just made it in my mind. I thought, I'm going to do this. It's going to be difficult, but I will be doing it my way on my own terms. And the beauty in starting over is that it's what you want it to be. The folks that showed up for me, of course, I would say my mom. She's helped me in more ways than I could express. And I feel like it has been a journey to understanding that we all have, I guess, lineages and things. And people give single moms such a bad rap. And I think it's because the culture, the patriarchal culture that we have is very much the dad needs to and the dad should. And I believe when the man is whole and complete and working on himself, yes, he should and he can. However, if he is not, honestly, I see single moms as taking protection for their children, period. And all the single women that I know who are out here parenting children without another parent in the house, some of the most resilient, also just caring, empathetic, loving people. So I think people always give single moms such a bad rap, but really what it is protection, because I don't know who will protect children, especially when they come through your body. Like, you have to protect them. Community showed up in a variety of ways. I also started to create and form community with other single moms, oddly enough. It's like a vibrational energy match when you find that you meet other moms who either have been through divorce or their relationships didn't work out for whatever reasons. And we just found each other, and I started hanging out with other women. We would go to the farmer's market. We would take our kids to festivals. We would have our kids get babysat by family and then go out dancing, because you still are a woman who wants to do fun stuff, and nowhere does it say that you can't do that. So having that, I think, is huge. And so for me, when I hear women say, I'm going through divorce, and I ask them, where are you in that process? I hear a lot of failure, like that they failed at their marriage. And most of the women that I know, they tried really hard. They probably tried harder, longer than they should have in the effort to preserve something. And they just decided that they just couldn't keep doing it anymore. And I think there's grief in realizing that you are not going to have the life that you thought you were going to have with the person who you thought you were going to be with, because no one gets married thinking they're going to be divorced. And you walk into that realizing at some point, the marriage, that you want to be with this person forever, but it doesn't last forever. Here's the thing. Very few things last forever. Forever as a concept is actually crazy, because that requires you to be the same. And I don't know very many people that stay the same. I think the thing with marriage is, as both parties are evolving and changing, that you're evolving and changing together and in the same direction. And that's hard to do when we're all becoming at the same time. What I would love to say is that if you're that woman and you're going through this, whether you have a 3-year-old or you have a 13-year-old, or they've left the house and you still have this idea that you would be able to do all of these things as a family, and you're realizing that's not going to be your thing, you're okay. You're going to be okay. It also gets better. Nobody probably wants to tell you that in the beginning, but what you can do when you're not weighed down with the mental, emotional, and psychological burden of carrying a marriage that you're sometimes carrying by yourself, what space and capacity you now have to build and create the life that you want, actually amazing. So, what does your village look like? I always ask. Who are the people who showed up without being asked? Who are the people who continue to hold you in the space of care? And I would encourage you to tag them who is a part of your village or share this with them because you probably want to let them know. I know sometimes people don't tell people, especially when you're going through sometimes something so difficult. But honestly, this is the best time to tell people that you love them and that you appreciate them and that you care about them, especially when you're going through a tough time. Thank you for listening. Alrighty. Bye.